Welcome to today's deep dive. We are examining a curriculum framework today for modernizing legacy C# and .NET enterprise software. The mission here is exploring how shifting from single-vendor monoliths to ecosystem-agnostic, multi-cloud setups can slash your infrastructure costs.
Right. And we're talking big numbers, like 30 to 50% in savings, while also, future-proofing your team's skills.
Yeah, 30 to 50% is huge. Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine wiring a massive, expensive house, but, you're only allowed to buy light bulbs from one single company.
Yeah, that sounds like a total nightmare.
It is. And the second they stop making that bulb or they hike the price, you're just sitting in the dark. For decades, that was the reality of building enterprise software in the legacy Microsoft ecosystem, like Windows Server and IIM.
Exactly. And modernizing to cross-platform .NET 8 on Linux containers, it completely breaks that lock-in. You strip out that expensive Windows Server licensing entirely.
Oh, so you aren't paying a premium just to keep the lights on anymore.
Right. You can run the exact same enterprise applications on, lightweight open source containers instead.
So if we're ripping out that old proprietary wiring, what tools do developers actually use to rebuild this without getting trapped by a new vendor? I mean, you can't just default to Microsoft Visual Studio anymore, right?
No, you really can without risking a new type of lock-in. The curriculum actually highlights JetBrains Writer as the alternative. It runs natively across Windows, Mac, or Linux, which gives you that true cross-platform freedom.
Right, and it fixes that massive freezing issue, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you've ever worked on a 10-year-old enterprise monolith, you know the pain of the user interface completely freezing up while the system tries to index thousands of files.
It's the worst.
It really is. But Writer offloads all that heavy indexing to a completely separate background process, so the developer can actually keep working smoothly out of sight.
Which brings up the elephant in the room, I guess, which is AI.
Yeah.
Because nobody is refactoring millions of lines of legacy code manually anymore.
Right, obviously. Teams are heavily relying on AI for that translation.
But like handing your proprietary enterprise code base over to a public cloud API, something like GitHub Copilot, that just feels like a massive compliance nightmare.
It is a massive red flag for enterprise security. What's fascinating here is how the framework solves this with Tab 9 Enterprise.
Wait, how is Tab 9 different?
Well, it can be completely air-gapped. So instead of sending your intellectual property out to the web, it builds a private context engine by indexing your local repositories right on your own internal network.
Oh, wow. So it refactors the legacy C# into modern APIs without the code ever leaving the building.
Exactly. It's safe, private, and secure.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Moving from writing the code to how we actually package it. The source suggests abandoning Docker for Podman, but are we just swapping brand names for the sake of being different? Or is there a fundamental architectural benefit?
It's a huge architectural upgrade, actually, mostly for security. Docker relies on a background program, a daemon, that operates with superuser or root privileges.
Okay, and root access is obviously very bad if it gets breached.
Right, because if a bad actor reaches a Docker container, they can potentially ride that daemon straight into the core of the host system. Podman is daemonless and, rootless. It runs processes independently, removing that system-level skeleton key entirely.
And you still use the same commands to run it, right?
Yep, the exact same command line syntax developers already know.
Got it. So once the app is safely containerized in Podman, we can deploy it to something like AWS App Runner or Google Cloud Run. But wait, if we're using AWS or a Google infrastructure, aren't we just handing the keys over to a new vendor when it comes to monitoring how the app performs?
That is the final trap, honestly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, embedding a vendor-specific monitor like AWS X-Ray directly into your C# code, you are locked into their dashboard.
Which totally defeats the whole purpose of this modernization.
Exactly. So the framework solves this with OpenTelemetry. It's an open standard for emitting all your metrics, logs, and traces. It standardizes your telemetry data right at the source.
Oh, so you can just route that information to literally any back-end dashboard you want.
Right, seamlessly. So you aren't trapped at the finish line.
So what does this all mean for you? Whether you manage a massive tech team or just want to keep your own engineering skills sharp, the takeaway here is that adopting an ecosystem-agnostic mindset is your best survival guide.
Yeah, it all comes down to maintaining control over your own infrastructure rather than letting the infrastructure dictate how you build.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which leaves you with one final provocative thought to mull over. If localized AI platforms can already evaluate massive legacy monoliths, automatically refactor them into modern .NET 8 APIs, and even generate their own unit tests, I mean, will the future enterprise software engineers stop writing code entirely?
That is wild to think about.
Right. Like, we might be looking at a future where developers transition into full-time auditors and governors of AI-generated systems. Just something to think about while you're out there changing those proprietary light bulbs.